So, you're a Cleveland Browns fan. Just how big of a fan are you? Do you deserve a seat at the Dawgs Table? Well, you're here, aren't you?
The best fans, the most patient fans in the league.
This is the Dawgs Table.
Touchdown, Shabalaba Hub!
If you're obnoxious, opinionated, over the top, and you live for the Browns...
45-40, run, William, run! 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown!
Welcome to your new family, the Dawgs Table, an official Dawgs By Nature podcast on the SB Nation and Vox Media Podcast Network. Let's do this. Welcome to the Dawgs Table. Now your hosts, Craig Fountain and Ryan Angelo.
Let's go! Let's go!
What's up, everybody? This is Craig Fountain and Ryan Angelo with the Dawgs Table, here for Dawgs By Nature via SB Nation and Vox Media. How you doing today, Ryan?
I'm good, buddy. Happy holidays to you and the family. But Victory Tuesday. Can't complain.
Victory Tuesday, and we are in one of those situations, and the episode is titled appropriately, and it is So You're Saying There's a Chance. We are going to get into the Cleveland Browns playoff chances. We're going to recap the Browns win over Baltimore and get into this week's preview of the Browns versus the New Orleans Saints. And the Browns defeated the Ravens 13-3 this past week. This is really strange going from Saturday to Saturday, right?
Yeah.
It seems like the whole schedule's like off a little bit. It's thrown me for a little bit of a loop, but it worked out. We came away with a victory. It was Deshaun Watson's debut at First Energy Stadium in front of a home crowd. It was a low-scoring affair. He is continuing to progress and showing, improvements, coming back from quite the absence. He didn't set the world on fire. There was nothing spectacular about his performance, but he did what he needed to do to get us this win. Give me your thoughts, Ryan, on this win, and let's start with the offense in Deshaun Watson.
I mean, I think it was, the weather was kind of funky. There was some wind to deal with. The snow started to come down. I think it was the third quarter, but I mean, it was a good game overall for the offense. I think that they're still struggling along the offensive line. They're not moving the ball on the run game as they would like to. I know Nick Chubb was 21 carries for 99 yards, but it didn't feel like he had 99 yards.
It really did not.
No, it was tough
at all.
I mean, it was just tough sledding the whole game, which is to be expected against Baltimore. They have a pretty decent, defense. So they're good against the run. They're always aggressive. But, Watson was great, I thought. Like you said, not crazy numbers. 18 for 28, 161 yards, one touchdown, QBR of 96.1. He's improving. You could tell there's rust. You could tell that he's still getting to know the receivers. He looks like he's commanding the offense well, though. I felt like he showed some of his escapability. It's encouraging to see. I think it gives me some hope.
Yeah, he had a 91.5 passer rating. What did you say his QBR was?
QBR was 96.1.
Okay. Deshaun Watson's was?
Yep, that's what it says.
All right. He was 18 of 28, 161 and a touchdown. I'm showing a QBR of 40.4. I don't know. Anyways, I will.
You're wrong. That's what this says.
Let's see here. Either way, it didn't feel like Nick Chubb had 99 yards. It rings true, though, to this day, right? Nick Chubb, 20-plus carries. We get the win.
Yep.
It was 21 of 99, 4.7 yards per carry. It was nice to see a little bit of a bounce back for him. Something we kind of talked about last week, which is going to be interesting to watch as the season goes on, is the split in the touches on the ground for Chubb, Hunt, and Watson, it was an almost perfect 2-to-1 split heading into Deshaun Watson's return with Chubb and Hunt. Hunt had a third of the carries. Chubb had 2/3. It was almost perfect. Chubb had 21 carries. Kareem Hunt 4 carries. Deshaun Watson 6. And then Jacoby Brissett had a carry, and Michael Woods had a carry. The other thing that is interesting is we were watching the Watson and Peoples-Jones connection, and Watson targeted Amari Cooper and David Njoku more than he targeted Peoples-Jones this game. David Njoku hauled in 3 of 6 targets for 28 yards. Amari Cooper 4 of 6 targets for 58 yards. Donovan Peoples-Jones 4 of 4 targets for 31 yards and a touchdown. So the success rate when targeting Peoples-Jones is outstanding. 4 of 4, right?
Right. Yeah.
So that's a connection that we're really enjoying. And I think that as the season moves forward and he continues to target, especially those 3 pass catchers, we're going to see more and more and more efficiency. Other than that, nobody had more than 2 targets in this game. But we did see Dalen Baldwin, who was a new name on the field. Harrison Bryant, Demetric Felton, Michael Woods, Hunt, Nick Chubb, all got targets in the passing game. What was your thoughts on the defense in this game?
Before we get over to defense, it looks like this website's wrong that I'm looking at for the stat for his QBR. I don't know why it says 96.1, but I think you were right on it. ESPN has it right. But no, defense, you can't complain. 3 points given up in the game. I would say that a linebacking crew that has been kind of just beat up, performed. I mean, they gave up 125 yards on the ground to J.K. Dobbins, but it didn't feel like Baltimore was running all over us. Like I know there was chunks here and there, but they were able to keep the run game pretty decently in check, I would say. At least that's what it felt like to me. But I mean, you can't ask for a better performance out of a defense that is missing, every starting linebacker that they need. They've got guys coming off the streets playing linebacker for them. I mean, guys that haven't played all year. So, to have that kind of a performance was great. They kept Huntley from scrambling and hurting them with his legs. Pretty much didn't give up anything, really. I mean, it was very impressive. Mark Andrews had a down game. But like I said, I mean, they gave up some yards to J.K. Dobbins, but it didn't feel like the Ravens were able to impose their will at all in the defense, which was encouraging. So yeah, I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah. And I think part of the reason we had some success was going up against Tyler Huntley, fresh out of concussion protocol. Yeah. He was 17 of 30 for 138, no touchdowns. He had an interception. We sacked him 3 times. He had a passer rating of 54.6, QBR 12.6. It didn't feel like they really had a ground and pound game going when you were watching it, but they did put up 198 yards on the ground with an average of 7.1. Now, J.K. Dobbins ran for 125, averaged 9.6 on the ground. Gus Edwards, 7 carries, 7.9 yards per carry. So, that played into it. But you were right. Mark Andrews had a down game, seven targets, 3 receptions, and we held them only to a field goal. Now, phase of the game everybody's really talking about this week following the win over Baltimore is special teams, and Cade York in particular. Cade York is on the struggle bus, and I want to know what your thoughts are on Cade York.
Well, it sucks because I got him on my fantasy team this year, but no, I mean,
you didn't drop him yet? I dropped him a long time ago.
I didn't drop him. I'm riding with him. Listen, I won the first round of my fantasy playoff, so I'm riding with it. No, it's tough to kick in that stadium to begin with. I don't know if it's a mental thing or if it's a mechanics thing. I saw a breakdown of the one attempt that he completely shanked really, really bad. So, it's typical. I mean, it's the Browns struggling to find that solid kicker that they really need. I mean, the guy seems to be automatic from 50 plus, but he struggles inside of 40 for some reason. So it's tough to watch sometimes, but I'm just looking forward to when we can finally feel comfortable when our kicker comes running onto the field. You know what I mean?
This is an interesting stage, right? Like, we invested a draft pick in a kicker, which is not the most traditional move. And it was an area where they felt like, hey, we've got a plethora of these day 3 picks, especially round 4. Let's take a kicker, who we think's the best kicker in the draft, and we'll go from there. Some of the most accurate kickers in NFL history didn't have the best few seasons to start their career. So it does require a little bit of patience. The other thing to think about is where he's kicking. Justin Tucker missed a field goal. He's one of the best to ever do it. So, if Justin Tucker's missing a field goal, the conditions are not ideal.
Correct. It's tough to kick there. I mean, when that wind starts swirling around coming off the lake, it really is tough to kick in that stadium.
Couple things, and if you're watching live, we appreciate you tuning in. If you're listening on the Dawgs By Nature podcast network, just know that we go live every Tuesday at 9 p.m. You can watch the show on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter if you would like, on our social media profiles, and the replay is saved there. So we are getting some comments, and people have questions. Perion Winfrey. I think we're seeing some more consistency out of him. If you're looking for our thoughts on Perion Winfrey, it's encouraging. It would have been nice to have seen some of this progress with his development a little earlier in the season. I think he had to learn some hard lessons, and they disciplined him a few times. But hopefully it's coming together, and hopefully this kind of correlates into a progression that's going to carry over through the offseason into next season. He is a rookie, so we'll see what happens. But, I think the Browns were truly looking for not an immediate like game changer, but like an immediate, somebody who could come in right away and play serviceable defense. And I don't think they got it quite what they expected. Yes, Tucker missed 2. Very uncharacteristic. And Baldwin on he was playing wide receiver for us. He's just a guy, don't get used to that name. I don't think so anyways. Do you have an opinion on that, Ryan?
No, I mean, he is what it is. You know what I mean? He would be on a roster if he could produce significantly at a high level, consistently. Obviously the guy did well for us. He's on the roster now, see what he can do the rest of the time he's with us. But, definitely a practice squad guy that is getting elevated because of, some injuries and some need at the position. So, it was great. He came in, made some plays for us. He seemed like he was pretty decent. So, listen, I'm not against giving a guy a shot. I could care less where you come from. I don't care if they get you off the street. I don't care if they get you from a junior college. I don't care. If you can produce for my team and you can play at the highest level, then, all power to you, man.
All right. So not the prettiest win, but we got one nonetheless. The Cleveland Browns sit at 6-8. They have a winning record at home. They're 4-3 at home, and they're at home again this week. Before we get into previewing the Browns and Saints game, let's talk playoffs chances. The title of the episode again. So you're saying there's a chance. It's not much of one, but they have not been eliminated from the postseason mathematically yet. Now, I was playing around with some odds calculators, and right now the Browns have a 1% chance or less of making the postseason, which does not come as a surprise to anybody that's been paying attention. With that being said, what was more interesting is without really changing other situations that are out of control, without recording wins and losses, if you just say, hey, the Browns are gonna win their next 2 games, what are their chances of making the playoffs? And without help, it is 4%, right?
Okay.
So a win this week isn't going to change things a whole lot, even with some help. But everything kind of went right for the most part this past weekend when it comes to who needed to win and who needed to lose elsewhere in the league.
Correct.
So we got some help. So we're still in it.
Do you know what the odds are if they win the last 3 games?
It's really not much more than 4% because everything is going to be dependent on help.
Right.
So it is that gets more complicated when you start,
that's too much
plugging in who's winning what games and this and that. So,
yeah,
we really want like the Chargers to lose out. We want the Jets to lose out. It's going to be, they're going to leave us a little bit of hope going into the last game of the season. I just have a feeling that, that's the way it's going to go. This is a big week, and I don't think the Saints are an opponent that strikes fear into anybody, but the elements in which this game is going to be played could easily affect the outcome. And what's interesting to me, if you're looking at the Vegas odds, it sent me down a little bit of a rabbit hole. So currently, the over-under for this game is 31.5 points. So Vegas is saying both teams' scores combined are not going to total more than 31.5. That is the lowest in over a decade of any game. The weather has something to do with it, and the way that New Orleans has been playing and the way that Cleveland's been playing both have something to do with it. The last 4 games for Cleveland, I believe they hit the under. The last 3 for the Saints hit the under. That has something to do with it. But the high right now, temperature-wise, for the game against the Saints this Saturday, Christmas Eve, is 12 degrees. And they're anticipating a wind chill in, it's going to be -10, -15, -20. It's going to be frigid. God bless anybody who goes and watches this game. Be prepared. Yep. But, it's going to be very, very, very cold. Wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour. It may not accumulate, but there's also a chance of snow. So aside from that, it sent me down a little bit of a rabbit hole as far as like, okay, what has happened in the past in these scenarios? There is only, in the last 20 years, there's only been 52 total games with 20 mile per hour winds or greater. 29 times it hit the under. There have only been 16 games with 25 plus mile per hour winds, and only twice has the game closed with a temperature below 20 degrees. Both of those games were in Cleveland, once against the Steelers in 2009, once against the Bengals in 2008. And the points scored in those games was 34 and 31. All right. The Browns beat the Steelers 13-6. The Bengals beat the Browns 14-0. So even going back further than that, let's go back to 2006 to see where the totals close with Vegas. You go and find the lowest over-unders since 2006. This would be the third lowest. Second was 31, Denver and Cleveland. In 2006, the other would have been 31, Cleveland and Cincinnati in 2008. So the weather has a huge effect on this. This is going to be a low-scoring game.
100%.
The best anybody can tell. So it could very easily go one way or another. It could be one play that decides this game. So while if we were playing and it was 40 and 5-mile-per-hour winds, even if it was a little rainy or something like that, again, the Saints don't really strike fear into you. I feel like the Browns can compete with the Saints. Not a problem.
Agreed.
You put the elements into consideration. You have questions about Nick Chubb. He's got a nagging little bit of an injury that he's nursing. How heavy do you run Nick Chubb? It's going to be cold. What do you make of this game? What's going to be important? How do the Browns attack this?
God, this weather is just par for the course for this season, isn't it? Like they're going to run the ball. If the winds are as high as what they're anticipating, I just can't see how you can consistently pass the ball in that weather. When that wind comes into the stadium, it swirls so bad that it just makes it extremely difficult. I mean, we saw part of it this past weekend when Justin Tucker missed his first kick. It hit the wind and just died. And you could just tell a significant difference in how his power was affected because of the wind. So, and this is going to be even worse. So I think kicking is going to be a disaster. I think passing the ball is going to be a disaster. They're probably going to have it's going to be run heavy by both teams. Very, very short passes. They may try to air it out a couple times, but I'm going to say that there's going to be very unsuccessful. I would personally, if it was me, I'm going the under in this game. I just can't see this being a 20, whatever to 20, whatever game. I think it's going to be a 13-10, 14-7 type game. I don't think it's going to be a very high scoring game at all.
Yeah. So it's kind of, it's still kind of hard to take the under when historically, I mean, this is a historically low total. So we'll see where it closes out. And somebody in the comments brought up a good point. Hopefully Stefanski holds practice outdoors or in the stadium. That could be something that happens. But this is going to be one of those tests. Like, it wasn't warm last week, but this is going to be something that Deshaun Watson hasn't experienced very many times. I'm not going to come out here and say like he can't play in cold weather or he's, none of that stuff, but this is different. You have to, it's something that he's going to have to get accustomed to playing in Cleveland over the next, 4 or 5 years or whatever. He's going to have to get used to this. So it'll be interesting to see how he handles it in tandem with his progression and his development in this system. I feel like you had something to say there.
I was just going to say, even if he plays bad in this game, I mean, let's be honest, this game, if the weather is as bad as they're talking, many, many quarterbacks would suffer and play poorly in this game. So that weather is absolutely brutal.
All right. So we have Browns are 3-point favorites. The weather's going to be messy. It could be a very low scoring game. Nick Chubb is dealing with, is it a toe? Did you see the same reports I saw? Toe or ankle, something like that. Either way, he got nicked up. It'll be interesting to see what kind of volume they give him. Might be a good chance to get Kareem Hunt involved. All right. So I actually got into a discussion with a coworker today about this. I want your opinion on this. Kareem Hunt. Not much volume since his mini contract dispute. What are they doing here? Are they not letting him make an appearance in the box score? Are they hoping to devalue him? Is that what's going on? Or
that's what it feels like.
Because it almost feels like, in my mind, if they had any intention of letting him leave town, and this is something we've talked about in the past, if they had any intention of letting him leave town, you would think, especially now, they would be giving him all the work he can handle and taking some of the wear and tear off of Nick Chubb. So,
correct.
That's what I would do anyways.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm sticking to my guns. I don't think the Browns want to get rid of Kareem Hunt. I think that they like the two-headed monster that they have, and I think they're going to do everything that they can to possibly keep him around. Whether that happens or not, it's yet to be seen. But I don't think they want to get rid of him. I don't think they want him to go.
So here's the follow-up question, because this makes a difference. It's up to Kareem Hunt if he stays or goes.
Correct.
The only benefit to the Cleveland Browns of not letting him put performance on tape, to put production in the box score, would be to devalue him. That would be the only reason not to put him on the field.
Yeah. It makes it difficult for him to get offered a substantial contract
from
somebody else.
But if you're Kareem Hunt and this is happening, that doesn't make you very happy either. So, maybe we're overthinking this. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's just the analytics or whatever. Who knows how their frame of mind is on some of these things right now.
Right.
But I think it's interesting to see where his volume's at. Because if I'm Kareem Hunt and it's essentially a contract year, and I don't want to be, whether I want to be back or not, I want to be out there. I'm mad if you're keeping me from getting the ball in my hands.
Right.
So,
and you never know. It could be a position coach thing. I mean, maybe something's going on with, Stump Mitchell, where he feels he's better off in certain situations with Chubb in there. I don't know. I mean, it could just be game plan. It could be a lot of different things. Like you said, we could be overthinking it, but.
Did you see any difference against Baltimore with the way defenses are playing us against the run? This was something that we talked about over the past few weeks. We hadn't made anybody pay for putting 8 in the box. So they're still, loading up against Nick Chubb.
I don't know. I would have to look at the statistics. I don't know all of the stats from Baltimore's game plan, but I would say that they definitely, Baltimore's a little bit different because they get a lot of pressure up front naturally out of the talent that they have in the front seven. So, they run a lot of things like bringing Kyle Hamilton on blitzes off the edge. They're young, talented, safety. They like a lot of blitzes that way. So it's, it's a little bit different, but I didn't feel like they crowded the line of scrimmage, but again, I could be talking about my butt. I need to go back and look at, I'd have to see like the all 22 or whatever it was of it. But it didn't feel like it was as aggressive as far as loading the box, but they did blitz a lot, but they like to blitz a lot. So for them, it's hard to say whether they did something outside of the norm.
Who would you say is going to be the biggest factor this weekend against the Saints? Would it be Nick Chubb? Would it be Kareem Hunt? What are you thinking?
I'm going to go with Deshaun. I think that, and the reason I say that is I think his legs are going to be important this weekend, with the inability to, throw the ball in this weather consistently. I think that the game plan is going to be run heavy, and I think it'll be important for him to use his legs. They see a lot of the read option. Like you notice that they're starting to kind of sprinkle in that read option with him. So I think they're starting to trust his legs a little bit more. And I think that you'll probably see a little bit of that this weekend, where he's going to need to, either scramble or, pick up some tough yardage with that read option. So I'll go with him. Obviously it's the easy low hanging fruit is to say that it's Kareem Hunt or, Nick Chubb, but I think that his legs are such a dynamic part of the offense when it's working that I think he really could make a difference in the game.
All right. So let's talk about something that could affect the running game. And we'll get into the injuries now. I'll have clarification for everybody listening or watching on the Nick Chubb injury also. But the Browns designated center Ethan Pochik to return from injured reserve, so there's a chance he could play this Saturday. That would be huge for this offensive line.
Yes.
Now, we didn't expect a ton out of him, coming into the season. Nick Harris was the guy, And Pochik looked outstanding while he was on the field. In Seattle, he had injury issues. Who knows if this is a route they try to take long-term, because he does have injury issues. And he found himself on IR this year, but that would be outstanding if he could come back. So let's get into the injury report.
Okay.
The Browns, David Bell was limited in practice. David Njoku was limited with a knee issue. Denzel Ward limited with a shoulder issue. Donovan Peoples-Jones got a rest day. He did not practice. John Johnson did not practice with a thigh injury. Myles Garrett did not practice with an illness. Amari Cooper was resting. He did not practice. Jadeveon Clowney, concussion, did not practice. Joel Bitonio, rest, did not practice. Nick Chubb, foot. Nick Chubb has a foot injury. He did not practice. So,
so nobody practiced.
Yeah, right. So like we have, I mean, on the offensive side of the ball, injury wise, now Bitonio and Donovan Peoples-Jones, they were resting. Right. Amari Cooper, they put rest/hip. We were kind of joking about that last week. Like, which is it? Is he resting or does he have a hip issue? Offensively, though, you have Nick Chubb not practicing because of his foot, and David Njoku was limited. On defense, you have Clowney with the concussion, John Johnson with the thigh, and Denzel Ward is limited with a shoulder. So there's definitely, they're banged up.
Yeah, for
sure. The Saints injury report isn't quite as long. The only players that did not practice were Chris Olave with a hamstring issue, Dwayne Washington with an illness. Marshawn Lattimore was limited in practice with an abdomen issue. Adam Troutman, ankle limited. Nobody else really too notable for the Saints. But that's another thing with the weather. This weather could make playing through some of these injuries or with some of these injuries much more difficult too.
Oh yeah, man. When it's frigid like that and you're taking hits that hurts 10 times worse than it normally does, it's harder to get loose. Your body's tight. You're cold. You're shivering. It's hard to stay warm on the sidelines. Like it makes injuries a lot harder on football players for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we're in our 30s. I don't know about you, but I know if it's about to rain or if it's cold out there, because my
my knee joints start to hurt, and like I'm like, the rain's coming. I can feel it.
But so hopefully we get healthy this week. Hopefully we have Pochik back. We'll see what happens. If he's healthy, he'll play. But just because he's designated to return from IR doesn't mean that he's a slam dunk either.
Right.
And
the Browns take cautious approaches with pretty much everything. So, I mean, if he's not ready, he's not going to play.
And I don't really get the feeling that they're in, I don't know what the best way to put it is. Like, win now sounds, I don't know, too broad. But like, if they don't win this game, like, it's not happening. It's probably not going to happen anyways, but I don't feel like they're gonna. Do you think they'll roll out guys and risk injury and hurting themselves?
No.
In order to try to get this win to stay alive, to get to a 4% chance to make the playoffs, in theory?
I would say no. I mean, I think the organization is smarter than that. I mean, there may be some guys that want to play, but I think that if they're significantly banged up, they're probably going to pack them up and be careful with them.
It's really difficult to know where their mindset is at.
Yeah.
In a perfect world, they still believe they have a chance. They're still playing for something. They still believe they legitimately have a shot, but do they?
Right.
I don't know. It's really hard. It's really hard to tell.
I mean, listen, if you win your last 3 games and you end up 9-8 on the year, I mean, that's not terrible. I mean, it's
not terrible, but it's a moral victory. Then again, like when Hugh Jackson's 5-year plan was leaked with Jimmy Haslam, and it involved the expectation to have a losing record. 3 years in? That brings questions.
Right.
So who knows?
I mean, it's definitely not where we wanted the season to be, but I mean, given how it started, how it's gone to this point, and the injuries that we've dealt with, and all that good stuff. I mean, I personally, if they won out, I would not be upset about a 9-8 season just because of how things have gone. Missing Watson half your season and all that good stuff. So, I mean,
to me, I'm not that worried about it because I think that even if we win out, we're likely not going to make the playoffs. And let's say we do make the playoffs. Let's say we do make the playoffs, right? The stars align and the unthinkable happens and we actually get in. Then what? Do we really think they're going to advance in the playoffs? I don't know. I just don't see it. I don't see it.
No.
I could be wrong. Maybe it's fixed and they got us down to a 1% chance and we're going to come back and win it all. I don't know. But,
right. Sure. That's. I wonder if that's ever happened in the history of the NFL. Like somebody was that low and came back and ended up winning a title. But I would say they're probably not going to make it. And if they did, magically in some way, I don't think that they're healthy enough or have the depth or the production to make a deep playoff run right now.
Yeah. And somebody in the comments is saying, nobody thought the Bengals were going to make it. They limped their way into the playoffs and then surprised people. At this point, I don't think we're as healthy or talented as that team was. And, I know it's popular to hate on Joe Burrow, but my expectations for Watson aren't there yet. So I don't know. God, I shouldn't have said that out loud. I'm going to get roasted for that.
I don't know. The Bengals are a force right now, man. You can't deny it at this point.
Pessimism is a weakness. They're on me for being pessimistic again.
Oh, that's all right. We're both pessimistic. I mean, we get this every week. It's okay. That's what. But our you keep coming back to listen to the pessimism. So
he's trying to change our lives for the better. He's bringing optimism to the Dawgs Table.
Or his pet projects now.
Yeah, he's here to reform us, to make us better people, stronger, bigger, faster, stronger people.
Yes.
All right. Predictions for this week. Give me some predictions. What's going to happen?
I think Browns win a very low scoring game. 10-7, 9-6, something along those lines. Like just some funky, ugly, low scoring affair win. That's all I got for you.
Yeah, this is a game where probably extra points probably aren't even going to be guaranteed. Right. You could see them going for 2. It's probably going to be some weird scoregami thing.
Right.
I'm going to go with, 12-6. Three touchdowns between the two teams. Nobody makes an extra point or converts a 2-point conversion.
I like it.
I don't know, but it's going to be something like that. I would like to think the Browns have the home field advantage and that they can compete with the Saints. The Saints can be dangerous though. They are a talented team.
Chris Olave will be a thing to watch too. His injury status. I mean, if he doesn't play, that's arguably their top weapon in the wide receiver room right now. I know Kamara can catch out of the backfield and stuff, but if he's not playing, it's a significant, dent in their game plan. But I think the Browns should be able to handle this one. I just don't think that the Saints have the firepower that they need right now.
Yeah. So it's for sure going to be similar to like the Browns Ravens game. It's not going to be super exciting. It's going to be a little bit of a...
No, I mean, if the weather's as bad as it's supposed to be, it could be uglier.
It's Cleveland. So watch, like we're in Tuesday and they're calling for 60-mile-per-hour winds and a high of 12 degrees.
It'll be 60 and sunny on Sunday.
60 and sunny.
Or Saturday.
Yeah. Oh, man. Christmas Eve. Listen, after last year, I mean, I'm not even upset we don't have a Christmas game, but did you see the games that are on Christmas Day? Like those are some like nobody's gonna watch these games on Christmas Day.
No, I don't
watching
know
the NBA
playing.
or
I didn't see it.
I'll pull it up real quick, just because I don't want to get it wrong. I just remember looking at it going like, this is not exciting. I feel like one of the games was supposed to be like they probably thought it was going to be a really good game. Let's see. We're in week 16. So Sunday, they have the Packers Dolphins.
Okay.
It's in Miami. Maybe an okay game. Yeah. Broncos Rams, Bucks Cardinals. That's it.
Oh, the Bucks Cardinals game would have been better if Kyler wasn't hurt.
Yeah, and Colt McCoy, man, he got lit up again this past week. I don't even know what's going on with him. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't play. Like, that dude's gotten knocked out so many times in his career. It's amazing that he's still playing.
Plays, yeah.
I always said the same thing about Willis McGahee. Like, I'm pretty sure Willis McGahee, even before he got to Cleveland, probably left on a stretcher at least 3 times just in his pro career.
It's crazy.
Never mind that injury in the championship game against Ohio State, right? In college. That's when that knee injury went down. But yeah, it's going to be not the best Christmas Day football schedule, but that's all right.
It's okay.
So you have the Bengals playing the Patriots. That's kind of a tough one because the Bengals are 10-4, Patriots are 7-7. You might root for the Bengals in that game. You have the Texans. You'll want to root for them against the Titans. And AFC wise, Raiders, Steelers. I mean,
this is all on Christmas Day, right?
No, this is Saturday.
Saturday. Oh, okay, I gotcha.
Yeah. So I'm kind of looking at the games that could have an impact on us. Those are the biggest things. We want the Falcons to beat the Ravens, the Bengals to beat the Patriots, probably, because at this point you want the Bengals to run away with the division, right?
Yeah.
They're 10-4. The Ravens are 9-5. Patriots are 7-7. They're not going to win their division, so you kind of want them to take a beat down. Texans, you want the Titans to lose, so you're rooting for the Texans there. Raiders, Steelers, I'm not sure exactly how that fits into our, who are our rooting interests, so to speak. But
yeah, that's an interesting one. I'm not sure on that one
because they're both 6-8. Steelers are within the division, but the Raiders, you don't want them to end up 9-8 also.
I would say it probably doesn't matter for the Steelers because we would have the tiebreaker over them
so far.
So far, yeah. But I would say that's a tough one to call. I don't know if that would even matter for us. Yeah, I know this last weekend we wanted the Raiders to win, but I don't know.
Yeah, because they were playing New England.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, do you have anything else you want to bring to the table before we close this?
No, just happy holidays to the listeners out there. Enjoy your Christmas with your families. We'll be back next week to chat about the game, but definitely have a great weekend. Be safe. Enjoy time with the family and friends and whoever you get together with or however you celebrate. We appreciate you. We love you.
Yeah, this is the Dawgs Table. I'm Craig Fountain here with Ryan Angelo. We are here for Dawgs By Nature, SB Nation, and Vox Media. And stick around for the overtime show. But if you're listening on the DBN Podcast Network, we appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe. Leave us a 5-star review if you have a free minute. You have no idea how much that helps us out. And until next time, go Browns.
Go Browns.
All right. So anything you want to bring to the table? What do you guys want to talk about? You guys that are in the comments, this is your portion of the show. What do you guys want to talk about? Let's see. I'm gonna post the link. I think last week I neglected. Did I post the link last week?
Yeah,
I think I did. Nobody joined.
Yeah, we didn't have anybody last week. I got about 15 minutes in me here, guys. So let's make some good combo.
Craig Foster's going to have his David Njoku jersey soon. We haven't done a giveaway. Ryan, should you and I do a giveaway on Twitter?
Yeah, we could. It's the holiday season, Christmas time.
I tried doing one on Facebook. I didn't get much action on Facebook. Okay, so Norman here wants to know, will Woods return? 0% chance.
Yes,
There's
not happening.
0% chance. I would be shocked if Joe Woods has a job in Cleveland next year.
I think the city would burn down if they bring him back. Like he's done.
You know, I love doing the jersey giveaways. Everybody gets to get a jersey. But here's something that I did recently. I got a custom one with my last name on it because I looked at all the jerseys in my closet and realized that with the exception of a Josh Cribbs jersey, I didn't want to wear a single one of them. Everybody, you know.
Yeah.
But Norman says he's
coming back.
Joe Woods is coming back.
Yeah.
Oh man, I smell a bet. Boy. I smell a bet coming.
I can't see any scenario in which he comes back. I really can't. It's I don't know.
I mean, it's a season for betting. I'm already in a bet with Always Positive Jay. I have to figure out what the wager is going to be, or we have to agree to one. But he wagered with me that Smith and Jigba goes in the top 10. I said he's not going in the top 10.
That's a tough one.
Norman has a Cribbs jersey. So do I.
Nice.
I love my Cribbs jersey. I don't really wear it. It was gifted to me. It's got like 12 signatures on it. I haven't deciphered who all of them belong to. But
speaking of jerseys, cool. I have one Browns jersey, and guess who it is?
Who's that?
Brian Hartline.
Oh Lord. Gary Rader wants to know, how about moving on from Mike Prefer? Listen, Mike Prefer, my gut tells me it's time. It's time to move on. You know, when it comes to Prefer, I have a little bit of empathy for his situation. We went out this year and we tried to change the world on special teams. We went and got a punter, which has worked out pretty well from a punting standpoint. Yep. You know, he's not a terrible punter. He's decent. Not a great holder, as social media detectives have started to find out. You look at analytically the kickers when he's holding, it doesn't go so well. But Jakeem Grant was a signing that was supposed to change our return game, and that obviously was impacted by injury. I doubt Jakeem Grant is back. The Browns have an out on his contract. He's 31. He tore, was that an ACL or Achilles? It really doesn't matter.
I think
he's 31 going on 32.
Yeah. I think he would have been extremely good this year too. And it's super disappointing to see that happen. But I think he would have made a significant difference in our return game.
Norman says he's not a fan of him as a person, but he's a victim of injuries. You're piquing my curiosity.
Yeah,
as long as this isn't political. I don't know much about Prefer's background. So Craig says Smith and Jigba could go top 20, but he could slip to the second round. I think he could easily slip to the second round. I think that there's a possibility he slips to the end of the second round.
I don't think so.
I don't think he makes it to the third round, but
I don't think there's any chance he makes it out of the first round.
Okay. Good route runner. Doesn't have any special characteristics besides that, really.
No.
He got a ton of volume with Olave and Wilson on the field, but realistically, like, he's got one good season to show. He's got injury concerns to show. He doesn't have elite size or speed. You know, if he has a poor showing at a pro day or combine, it could tank him. Like, it is going to be boom or bust. And does anybody really think he's going to run a 4.3? I have people saying he's going to run a 4.3. It's going to boost his draft stock. Like, doesn't he run like a 4.5?
I don't know. I'd have to look because I don't know the last time it was actually tested. Like, I know they do it all the time at Ohio State, but I think that there is 0% chance he gets out of the first round just because of the track record that Ohio State has right now, producing talent, especially at the wide receiver position. Brian Hartline is extremely respected around the NFL. I think he's a significantly good teacher of wide receivers. And I think that in a solid pro day and or combine, I think he'll be fine. I mean, I would be absolutely shocked if he makes it out of the first round. I would say probably top 20 at the least.
So, All right. So we have Gary here asking where did we get Baldwin number 17? I like his size. He's 6'2", 212 pounds. He actually went to Michigan. He's a rookie. He spent time on our practice squad this entire season until being called up to compensate for David Bell's absence. It was kind of weird seeing him wear number 17. Like he almost looked like Braylon Edwards. Like if it wasn't for the name on the back of the jersey, you're like, man, that's Braylon Edwards out there. But yeah, I mean 6'2", 212. I mean, he's not a little dude. He did pretty well. Yeah, two receptions on 2 targets, 12.5 yards each. Both of them went for first downs too.
Yep.
Hey, don't curse him. Braylon Edwards cursed himself.
Yeah, he did.
Nope, he did not come from the Seahawks. You're thinking of Doug Baldwin.
Doug Baldwin, yeah.
Who's much, much older. Dalen Baldwin's only 23 years old.
He's a good receiver, though.
Doug Baldwin, yeah.
He was a good receiver.
Yeah, he had a lot of good times in Seattle.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions or anything else you guys want to talk about before we get going? The other guy that they had up was Jalen Darden.
Yeah, he had 2 catches too, didn't he? Or am I thinking of Baldwin?
He had 1.
Was it a decently long one, though?
25. Okay. 25 yards for a first down. He's not big. That is not a big guy. He's 5'8".
Yeah, he's a little dude. It looked like he had some shiftiness to him, though.
Yeah, 5'8", 173 pounds. He was a 4th round pick by Tampa Bay. And that was in 2021. So this isn't his rookie year, but 1 catch, 25 yards. Michael Woods did play. He had negative yardage on a run. Let me pull. He's a guy who looked really good in training camp. Michael Woods. Let's see. He had 1 reception on 2 targets, 4 yards.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do in the offseason because I really, really think that this offense could be very explosive with a deep threat in the wide receiver room. I feel like they have the short to intermediate game like locked down with Donovan Peoples-Jones and Amari Cooper and David Bell. You know, I expect him to come along. I think that they've got the short yardage receivers and those possession receivers. They just need somebody who can stretch the field, man. That's like the hardest part for this team right now is, you know, you get a lot of teams that are playing defense against the Browns and they're creeping up because they just don't have that deep threat that really can burn you.
Can we as fans, I see our viewer count is still up there pretty good. Can we as fans not overreact to DeAndre Hopkins making comments on Deshaun Watson's Instagram? Because I don't see that happening this offseason. It would be cool. But
hey, you never know. I mean, that could be the power of Deshaun Watson. You never know, you know.
Schwartz will, in my opinion, not be here next year.
No, he will never make a significant impact on this football team.
That is not pessimism, Norman. No. Winfrey, so high motor, can't control his emotions.
Yeah, a little immature.
Where he's at. He is immature. He's got some maturing to do. Hopefully he can do it in time to not lose his job.
Yeah.
Or play himself off this team or out of the league.
Yeah, I mean he's a high motor guy. He plays with a lot of emotion. He has good push at times. I would say consistency is an issue for him. Immaturity is a little bit of an issue. Obviously, he's had some games that he hasn't suited up for because of that. But I'm encouraged by what I've seen. I still think they need more at the position, but you know, he looks like he could be, an impactful player for them down the line.
Yeah, and this was a guy we mentioned earlier in the show. I don't know if you were tuned in for it. And we've talked about it a number of times throughout the season, but I think that their intentions for Winfrey was to stop his fall in the draft. Like this was a guy that could have went much earlier in the draft. A lot of teams saw this type of stuff coming But the Browns took a gamble, and that's something that Andrew Berry does a lot when it comes to whether it's disciplinary stuff, character stuff. If he sees talent, he's gonna do his best to pull you in, try to mold you into what he wants you to be. And I thought I think that they thought he would have a little bit more of an immediate impact.
Yes, for sure.
Not again, they weren't expecting him to come in and change the world and be an all pro or go for defensive rookie of the year or any of that type of stuff. But I think that they felt he would be an average serviceable interior defensive lineman to kind of bridge into next season.
Right.
Whereas now he's turned into let's step back to square one. Let's focus on getting our head right. Show up, play, know where you're supposed to be, know what you're supposed to be doing, be motivated, and use that high motor to produce. This is a learning experience. It's turned into more of a developmental type thing, which is fine. His potential is still off the charts.
See, that's another reason why I was really upset with the Browns that they did not go out and get a veteran to put into that defensive tackle position this year to play alongside those guys, to help and mentor someone like Jordan Elliott and Perrion Winfrey. I feel like those two would have really benefited to have somebody there to really help them grow. And I mean, it's pretty obvious at this point that the Browns thought that position was going to be a lot easier to hide throughout the season than what it has been. But I would have loved to have seen them bring in somebody just to help mentor that group.
Norman thinks both Joe Woods and Anthony Schwartz is going to be back. That's one hell of a parlay, and that's only 2 legs. Gary says, I like how Delpit playing like an Isaiah Simmons because we know he can't cover. Andrew Berry has a lot of decisions coming up.
Yeah.
He hasn't cut ties with a draft pick outside of who was it he cut earlier this year? It was the first one. I'm struggling to think of who it was now.
I can't think of it either.
Was it D'Anthony? No, it wasn't.
No, that was
Richard LeCount. It was Richard LeCount.
Yeah.
That was the first draft pick that he cut ties with, and I don't know. We're going to start seeing more of that. Eventually, he's going to have to cut his own guys. It's math.
I mean, the Browns
at that point.
The Browns safety position, both strong safety and free safety, are a collection of guys that are better at playing closer to the line of scrimmage and run support than they are in coverage, which is a problem. They need to have somebody back there that can cover, and they don't really have anybody back there that can cover. Like John Johnson shows flashes, but he's not consistent enough. And we've seen them have tons of busted coverages this year, and they're just too many guys that are more hybrid linebacker type players at that position that they need somebody that can play that center field position and stick back there like a Minkah Fitzpatrick that the Steelers have, because I mean, he's all over the field. He's breaking up passes. He's making tackles. They need somebody like that. They have too many guys that are better closer to the line of scrimmage, which isn't really great in this day and age of the NFL.
Well, and you have guys that showed success doing certain things last year, and they are doing something completely different this year.
Yeah.
That's
what you get with young players. You know what I mean?
Greg Newsome's playing in the slot, right?
Yeah.
And we're not seeing anywhere near the type of success this year as he had last year. Last year, I'm like, we don't even need Denzel Ward. Like Greg Newsome's going to turn out to be the better guy, in my opinion.
Right.
And he was better on the outside, in my opinion. Now we have probably Martin Emerson on the outside, and then Newsome's going to end up going to the outside. I don't know that we're going to move away from Denzel Ward. It's a little late contract-wise to be able to do that, even though I think that contract's not the best thing for this team. And they may have some buyer's remorse money-wise, structure-wise, but we're kind of at a point where we can't really turn back on that. So, I think Newsome is the heir apparent for Ward, and Emerson, as long as he continues to develop, I think it's more likely we see those two guys long-term.
Right. I don't think they're going to move on from Denzel anytime soon, unless they got some type of crazy, like, I don't know, trade offer for him. But I don't think they have the depth in the defense, like in the entirety of the defense, and to give them the flexibility to get away or give away someone of that caliber. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I'm not suggesting that they're going to do it this year. I think that they're having buyer's remorse on his contract. Like, I don't know that. Besides Norman's probably optimistic about this. Norman, I just know you. You don't have any problems with Denzel Ward's contract. I don't know. I think he's overpaid. I think he's overpaid. But the way that it's structured, we're stuck with him. But I don't know that he plays out his full term.
Yeah, I would say it's probably more likely he doesn't play out his full term with the team.
Happy Festivus, Justin.
You too, buddy.
Let's see. I'm going to pull up Denzel's contract breakdown. It was a 5-year, $100.5 million contract. I know that it was like 71 or 72 million guaranteed. Let's see. So his dead cap next year is 39 million. 39 million in dead cap. He's not going anywhere. 2024, his dead cap is 27.7 million. So he's a candidate to restructure, but let's say the Browns did want to try to move him. Does anybody else want to take on the remaining 80 million in his contract? They paid him I think 21 million this year, first year of his deal, his extension. So
I mean, you'd have to think the only people that would be willing to take that type of money would be a rebuilding team, right?
Right. Or somebody, and it's gonna come to a point where we're gonna have decisions to make, just like Andrew Beer's gonna have decisions to make with his draft picks and his rookies. Roster construction is gonna get extremely interesting because we don't have the money that we used to have. We are going to have to restructure contracts, big money contracts in this offseason just to have enough cap room to sign draft picks, let alone make a move or two in free agency.
Yeah.
They're going to be restructuring Deshaun's contract. They're going to be restructuring Myles Garrett's contract. They could restructure this contract. Here's what happens, though, when you restructure these contracts. You convert the money to a signing bonus. You take that amount of money and you spread it against future years. Now you're mortgaging against your future.
That's
Andrew
the NFL,
Berry's
though.
It is the NFL, but this is not a situation we're used to being in.
Yeah, I mean that's what comes with trying to contend, right? I mean, I've always said, and I probably have said this on air early when we started doing these shows together, that I'm fully against Moneyball in the NFL. I think you have to pay in order to win in the NFL. I think you have to spend money in order to win in the NFL. And I think you have to put yourself out there as an organization to win in the NFL. So I have no problem with them restructuring and pushing anything to the future and pushing. That's just the way the NFL is nowadays. It just, that's what comes with, if you want a team that's going to compete, that's what it comes with. I can't think of a team over the last however many years that's won a Super Bowl or has made a deep playoff run that has played Moneyball or hasn't gone out and put impactful free agents on their team or made impactful trades. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't work.
Yeah. So here's what I mean, Norman, by restructure. So the Browns signed Watson to a 5-year, $230 million deal. It is fully guaranteed. His cap hit next year is $54.9 million. If they restructure his salary, they can convert a portion of that to a signing bonus. Right. They can actually free up $35.9 million next year without changing his contract by giving him the money up front. Right. So like his salary would be $10 million instead of $54 million, roughly. Right. Here's the problem, though. That $35 million gets spread out against the next 3 or 4 years. Now, what happens if we do that year after year after year?
Right.
Now we're mortgaging against our future. And look what it did to the New Orleans Saints. Every year they go into free agency with negative $60 million in cap space.
Yeah, but here's my thing on that. Let me just, I don't want to cut you off. Let me say something. To me, as a Browns fan, as a lifelong Browns fan, I would sell my soul for one Super Bowl. Like I could care less if the Browns turn into a dynasty. That's so rare in the NFL. I mean, like it's so hard to do what teams like the Patriots have done. It's just too difficult. Like unless you get lucky and you get a Tom Brady on your team, it's just super, super hard to do that. I would do anything for them to win a Super Bowl in the next 3 years, and I could care less what happens after that. Like, I just want my team to hoist the trophy one time in my lifetime. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that I would think that a lot of Browns fans would say the same thing. So, like, could care less how much money they're pushing in the future. Do what you got to do. Like, I want to win. You know what I mean?
So I posted a link in Facebook and YouTube comments, an article that I wrote for Dawgs By Nature, and it's three big money contracts the Browns could restructure this offseason. Number one is Deshaun Watson, and I think it's actually the most likely to be restructured. $35.9 million. He could free up cap. The second most likely, in my opinion, is Amari Cooper. We could free up $12.5 million by restructuring his. Myles Garrett, we can free up 12.9. So between those three players, and I don't think they'll do all three, but they could, in theory, free up 61 plus million in cap space. Now, if they were to do this across the board with a bunch of their contracts, they can free up like 70, $80 million. Now, they're not going to do that, but they are going to play around with the money a little bit. Because right now, as it stands, we have like no money next year. We can't even sign our draft picks. We have like 4 million, I think, if that.
And they'll figure that out.
So, and here's another example. So look at what they did with Jadeveon Clowney, right? We signed him to a 1-year deal. Wrong. He plays for us for 1 year. We signed him to like a 3 or 4 year deal with multiple void years. So we signed him with the intention of taking a lesser cap hit this year, knowing he's likely not going to be with us in the future. And we are already allocating cap space to Jadeveon Clowney through like 2025 or 2026.
Yeah.
So we're not even doing it with players that we're anticipating being here.
Right.
You know, so
I guess just the way I look at it is just that tomorrow is not guaranteed in the NFL. I don't think it's really guaranteed in any sport, but the NFL is so brutal that, next week your star quarterback could completely blow his leg off and, never play again, or you could lose. There's just so many injuries and things that happen from year to year that it's so hard to win championships and compete at that level year after year after year. I mean, you see teams look at the Rams this year, it's just really hard. Injuries happen, things happen, that's why I would just rather win. And, once you win, then you figure it out, but you got to get there first. You know what I mean?
I think though the approach, and sorry, I know Ryan, you said you had 15 minutes and we're past that. I think the approach is more towards hold on one second.
We do
21 million in rollover cap. So right now, I'll pull this up.
We do have cap available that we didn't use this year. I want to say
I'm going to team salary caps. I'm gonna let's do real numbers here. So for 2023, right now, we don't. For 2023, without re-signing any of our impending free agents or extending anybody, we have 6.7 million. We do have some rollover cap, and that is included in that total. So we have 225 million next year. We're rolling over 32 million. That brings us to 257. Our top 51 contracts next year is anticipated to be at 246 million, which brings us to almost 7 million. So we have 6 or 7 million after we roll over 32 million.
Right.
It costs about $8 million to sign your draft picks for next year, not having a first round pick. So we're not going to have the 6.7 plus 32. That 32 is already in that number.
Right.
So that's not re-signing Kareem Hunt. That's not re-signing Greedy Williams or, whoever's about to hit free agency. So Andrew Berry's got his work cut out for him.
Yep.
And I don't see any other way it happens other than restructuring these contracts.
I mean, they're gonna go to these guys and be like, listen, we have to restructure this, or we're not going to be able to afford to add talent to this team. And I think they have holes on the team that they were hoping that they weren't going to have, at the end of the season. So he definitely has his work cut out for him. I mean, I think they're going to be really active. I know that the $6 million sounds really bleak, but I think that they're going to, Andrew Berry's a cap magician. He's going to come up with money. It's going to happen.
So those 3 players that I mentioned could restructure their contracts to free up cap space. Deshaun Watson, Myles Garrett, Amari Cooper. Those 3 players account for 40+% of our cap hit next year.
Yep.
Just those 3. So number one, they're candidates to be restructured because of the amount that we could save, because their contracts are so big. Right. But, I think Amari Cooper was a steal, don't get me wrong, but I think Deshaun Watson and Myles Garrett, I mean, it makes sense. Deshaun Watson's like 21%, Myles Garrett's a little over 11, Amari Cooper's a little over 9. I think that's perfectly fine, but that doesn't leave a lot to go around.
Yeah.
Denzel Ward, I don't know if it would make sense to restructure him. He's got a $12.3 million hit. Could lead to some cap casualties though. Jack Conklin, he's only a $6 million cap hit. John Johnson, if they do a post June 1st cut, they could save some money there.
Ronnie Harrison, I think he probably would be a on the way out player.
I think he might be a free agent.
Is he
already? Yeah.
I wouldn't anticipate him coming back then.
But all right, that is, I think we're going to close out the show now. We appreciate you guys tuning in, joining in for the discussion, asking us questions, being involved in the conversation. We appreciate you. This is Craig Fountain and Ryan Angelo here with the Dawgs Table for Dawgs By Nature, SB Nation, and Vox Media. Join us next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Hopefully we have another Victory Tuesday in line.
Yes, sir.
And don't freeze if you go to the game. Bundle up, please. No frostbite.
Yeah.
Don't get frostbite. We don't want to be losing limbs. But Gary, thanks for joining the show. Norman, Craig, Justin, thank you. Everybody that joined. Thank you. We will see you next week, Tuesday at 9. Until next time, go Browns.
Merry Christmas and go Browns, baby.